All right, so we're going to start a class that is a little different. You get 3 lessons, and I was thinking about what can we talk about in 3 lessons. There's obviously a lot of material for us to cover, but we're going to kind of obviously have some biblical insight here, but we're going to kind of use the format or platform of Lessons from the Road is what we're going to title this. Lessons from the road. What are some things that we've learned or been reminded of, things that are important, things that we've seen that are, as we've been in so many different places that are key in every location, and we'll be talking about that. The work that we typically do, we're working with small congregations. The local church doesn't look like an eyeball, but it's a small congregations that we're typically working with. And those present challenges, obviously, when you're working with the congregation, because this is what the work looks like. So we're working with congregations that are in small communities, small groups of people. 15 or less has been about the average of the congregation size that we've been working with. And as we look at this page here, and you look at the work of the church, these are not obviously all of the things, not exhaustive things that the church does, but here are some of the core things that a congregation does in the work of the church in most places. What are some challenges you see here with a small group of people trying to do these things? What are some challenges you think happen? This is a class, you guys can talk. Leadership. Why is leadership a challenge? So you have a small group of people, and so you really have to have somebody step up in leadership. So leadership can be a problem. What else can be a challenge in this case? Number of people for worship, number of men for worship.
And if you happen to have them out of town, put the role on one person or two, maybe.
Yep.
Specifically, all of it.
Yes. Yeah. So you typically you're wearing a lot of hats in here. What was something else you said, brother? Evangelism. How's evangelism a challenge? You work your regular job, and you're also possibly preparing a lesson or a Bible class, and then there's still evangelism to do. Is that a challenge? Does time management kind of key in there on that? So that's a challenge. So we can see very clearly that this becomes a challenge. And I want to highlight this by maybe a visual example. Let's say we took just these 2 rows right here. You guys are our congregation in Scobey, Montana. Let's just use that as an example. Scobey, Montana is a town of about 1,000 people. It's about an hour from the Canadian border, so it's a little bit chillier there right now. And so you guys are the congregation, these 2 rows right here. Who's preaching Sunday?
John.
Okay. Just got voluntold. All right, who's going to be leading singing? Oh, you got a song leader down here. All right, that's good. How are we who's going to be prepping the Lord's Supper and getting there to turn the building on and get all the heat warmed up? What's that? Miss Bessie said she'd do the Lord's Supper? Okay. But you see what we're saying? So this is a congregation, and it creates a challenge for everybody when you're trying to be the light in that area, and you're trying to do what you need to do as a congregation there. Another challenge, what are maybe some psychological challenges that take place? You're a small congregation. What are some things that we can be thinking?
Maturity.
What's that?
Maturity.
Maturity. In what way?
Age-wise and spiritually wise.
Okay, so you have maybe in this case you have a youth, right? So which is great. You don't always have that. Now you have 2. Now we have 2. All right. And so the age bracket there, but you also have a situation, like you said, spiritual maturity, and that becomes a challenge. Here's a congregation that maybe they haven't had a large diet of biblical teaching, and so maybe they're not as grounded in certain things. And then maybe you have somebody move into the area that wants to start teaching different things. Is that a challenge? They're really nice. They lead singing great. It's nice having them here. But when they teach on Sundays, they teach some things a little bit different than what we're reading. That becomes a challenge. And then you key in leadership. Now they have a voice in the leadership because maybe you're doing just a men's meeting for the leadership because you don't have elders. And so that creates a challenge for congregations. There's all the different kinds of things that come into play when a congregation is like this, trying to do all these different things. We're small. We don't know what we can do. How do we reach out to the community? Are we doing things the right way? Those all become questions that congregations like this are asking all the time. A lot of times in the Southeast, and there are others, you have congregations that are more like this. What are some benefits to having more people? What are some benefits for more people? So the workload gets diversified, right? So you have more people that can do these different things. What are some challenges with more people? What's that?
Relevant material.
Relevant material for everybody, keeping everybody spiritually fed and kind of keying in on things that are going on in their life specifically.
More responsibility.
More responsibility? In what way?
You know, like, you got to kind of stretch your boundaries, you know.
Yeah, you got to get everybody divided out doing something, right?
If you got that many more people, you have the 20-80. So if 20% of the people are doing 80% of the work and you only have 20 people, it's pretty easy to identify who can pick up the slack. But if you have 200 people, it's easy for people to fall through the cracks and think somebody else will do that.
Oh yeah, so that's a very, very, very key thing. So when we go back, can I go back? Nope, sorry. When we're here and you have responsibilities and you don't show up or you don't do it, does it get noticed? Oh yes, it does. When you're not there, if you're not there, you know, maybe in a congregation this size right here, you represent a large percentage of that congregation if you're not there. Our tenor section's not here for singing this morning, right? So that's one small example, but yes, that is something that takes place. But when we're here, and I don't show up on Sunday, and I don't get plugged in with the work, does anybody notice? Do you see what we're saying? So you can be here and you can come or not come, and you can hide. And you can not get plugged in. And you can kind of hide in the numbers. So that's a challenge. That becomes a challenge for who? For whom? Well, all of us. So all of us, we need to be looking out to get people plugged in. But it also becomes an individual responsibility as well. What am I doing to get plugged in? What am I doing? Yes, sir.
Contrasting the two, the small one, you get to know everybody really, really good. Big place, you don't know each other. If we go back and look at the scriptures, we'll see they met in their homes, and they knew each other, and they loved each other. And I think we've lost that.
Yes. So if you go back to this, do you get to know each other pretty well? Maybe more than you want to. But that's what he's saying. So this becomes a more intimate setting, and you get to know each other and your struggles and your personal things that are happening in your lives, and you're more plugged in like a family. And here, in this case, maybe not as much. Maybe we don't get to know everybody like we'd want to or are trying to. And so it's not as, like you're saying, not as an intimate connection that you have in these places that are larger. And so they both present their challenges. Which one's better? Which one's better? Huh? Yep. You got to get plugged in. You got to get plugged into God's Word. And in this case, if we're looking at these things, a lot of times bigger is better, right? More numbers are better. But when you're in a small community like Scobie, Montana, with right at 1,000 people, and you're 15 of those 1,000 people, that's a pretty good percentage of that town, right? So that's good. Sometimes we get lost in numbers games, where bigger is better, but it's not always the case. In God's eyes, which one's better? Neither one of them, obviously, right? As long as you're doing what He's asking us, what you're supposed to do, and you're a faithful congregation, and you're teaching His Word faithfully, and you're trying to strive and serve Him as faithfully as you can, neither one's better. But sometimes, psychologically, you're this congregation in Scobie, Montana, and you're going online to watch and get plugged in with other congregations, watch their videos, so you can learn and do more, which happens quite a bit. And they're seeing all these people in the pews, and they're hearing the singing, and it's like, oh man, I wish we could be like that. And we start doing what? We start comparing, right? We start comparing. And when we start comparing, that's not how God sees things. That's not how that works. But oh, it'd be nice to have a better singing. Oh, it'd be nice to have people that can reach out. Oh, it'd be nice to have. And we get lost in that kind of thinking, and that's defeatist when we realize that, hey, we're shining here in Scobie, Montana. We're doing what we're supposed to do. What I want us to look at this morning is that the strength is not our own when it comes to the work that we're supposed to do. This is a lesson that's true everywhere and has always been true. The strength that we serve and live our lives to the glory of God is not our own. We work, we strive, we do the best we can, but in the end, we rely on the strength of God. And this is something that has always been true. The strength has never been ours. We're going to look at a few things where we have some examples from the Old Testament about this. In Noah, in Genesis chapter 6, Noah's given a task. What was kind of the climate in Noah's day? Was everybody super nice and awesome? Was everything awesome? Yeah, everybody was evil everywhere. That's what God, it repented God that He had made man. And so He challenges, and He gives Noah a task. Then God said to Noah, "The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. And behold, I am about to destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood, and you shall make it the ark of the rooms." And He gives them the dimensions. Verse 18, "But I will establish my covenant with you." Verse 22, "Thus Noah did according to all that God had commanded him, so he did." All right. God, you're living in an area and all your neighbors are horrible, and God comes to you and tells you you need to build an ark. A what? You need to build a box, is really what that is translated to. And we're going to put all the animals in it. And you and your sons and their wives and your wife, they're the only ones that are going to make it. What's the challenge for Noah? What's the challenge? What's that? How? How am I going to do this? He did it, and the text doesn't tell us that he even scoffed, really. Maybe he said, "Oh, I hear you. They're horrible," But it doesn't tell us that he even balked at the commandment. But he did it. How many years did it take him to build the ark? 100. Yeah. Peter tells us he's a preacher of righteousness. How many did he save? 8. 8 souls. 8 souls. Would that have been discouraging? It would have been. Was it by his own power that this happened? Was it by his own power that all the animals came together? Did he play a flute or something? No. It was God. It was God seeing him through that. That's a huge, huge task. It's a huge undertaking. But he did it, but the strength was not in him, it was in God. Look over at Genesis 12. We have Abraham. Genesis 12, 1 through 7, we have Abraham. They'd already traveled with his father, Terah, towards Canaan. God says to Abraham, "No, the Lord said to Abraham, go forth from your country and from your relatives and your father's house to the land I'll show you. I'll make you a great nation." Verse 2. Verse 3, "And I will bless all the family, and in you all the families of the earth will be blessed." And then verse 7, the Lord appeared to Abraham and said to your descendants, "I will give this land," when he got to Canaan. Here's 3 big promises that God made to Abraham. What is Abraham's challenge? What's the first thing God asked him to do? To leave his country. Leave everything that's familiar to you. Leave everything that's familiar to you. When you're plugged into a community somewhere and you know where the water comes from, you know, like here, for example. You're plugged here, you know where your grocery store is, you know where your doctors are, you know where you're going to school, everything you have, the rhythm of life, where you are. You have your connections, your familial connections, if you have family close by, and those are important. But he asked him to leave all that, step out on uncertainty. Was travel in that time, was it certain? Was it easy? Did it have its dangers? Oh, yes. Especially if you were somebody that had money, it would be even more of a challenge because you have people that want to take that money from you. So there are challenges, and Abraham's asked to go out on faith and follow and go where God tells him to go. The promises that were made to him, I'm going to make you a great nation. How old was Abraham? Was he in the spring of his years? He was not. He was not in the age of his years that you'd be making a great nation of him. His wife was barren, but God made him this promise. Was the strength in Abraham to do this? It was God. Every step of the way, it was God. Every step of the way. We're going to get some more look over at Moses. Moses is a great example. When we read about Moses, later on, we see this great leader. We see a powerful individual connected with God, walking with God, a friend of God. But when we see Moses in Exodus chapter 3, he's not exactly on that page. He's not there yet. We see a big growth process with Moses in Exodus and into the rest of the books that he wrote. He sees a burning bush. And he's like, I'm going to go see this burning bush. What happens there? What happens? We're not going to read the whole text, but what happens?
It was consumed.
So the bush was burning, but it wasn't consumed. And he goes and looks at the bush, and what does God say? Take off your shoes. You're on holy ground. You're in the presence of holiness.
God gives him direction and commands, which he doesn't think he can fulfill.
So God gives him some commands here, right? And verse 10, therefore come now, I will send you to Pharaoh so that you may bring my people, the sons of Israel, out of Egypt. That's his command. Was Moses like Noah? Said, all right, let's do this. No. He was not. But Moses said to God, who am I? That was his first problem. What was he thinking? What's that? There's got to be somebody better than me. Who am I? What did he make that about? In that moment, what was he thinking about? Where was the strength for that coming from? Himself. Himself. Who am I? God gives us a challenge. He says, I want you to work in Scobie, Montana, or wherever you are. And we say, but who am I? God says, no, that's not how that works. I ask you what to do. I say this is what you need to do. And you do it because I'm with you. God says to him in verse 12, certainly I will be with you. Obviously, Moses, I'm not going to just have you do this and just say bye, ciao. Right? So I'm going to be with you. Then Moses said, well, what's your name? When I go and tell these people about you, and what name should I give? So he starts doing this back and forth. What is your name? I am who I am, verse 14. Chapter 4, what if they will not believe me or listen to what I say? And then God gives him, what is that in your hand, Moses? And gives him those two signs. Turns his hand leprous. Verse 10 of chapter 4. Please, Lord, I have never been eloquent, neither recently nor in time past, nor since you have spoken to your servant, for I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. What does God say? Verse 11. Who has made man's mouth? At every turn, Moses is like, please, not me. I don't want to be that guy. And God removes every excuse. Ultimately, verse 13, please, Lord, now send the message by whomever you will, which being translated means, I don't want to do this. God says, you're going to be the man, and I'll send Aaron with you. Sometimes we're in that stage with Moses, and we think of excuses. They won't listen. They won't hear. They're kind of rough. Maybe they're not really looking for God. Does that matter? When we've been commanded to share the gospel message, we have the best message ever. Does it matter? Well, my friendship might change with them. Who cares? I mean, really. In the grand scheme of things, it's important what we're doing. In the whole history of what God has asked man to do, the message we have is the culmination of God's work with mankind. And we get to share it. And we get to help people understand it. But I'm not eloquent. I don't know all the scriptures. Who made man's mouth? We make it about ourselves sometimes, the work that God has given us to do. And when you're in a small congregation, anywhere, sometimes we can make it about the power we think we have or don't have. And we forget we need to do it anyway, and God's going to be there with us. It's very, very important that we understand that the power is not in us, the strength is not our own. When we go to the Israelites in Leviticus, God makes certain assurances to them. God's told them that they're going to be taking over a nation. They'll be routing the people. Eventually, they knew that they were going to have to fight. And these aren't people who are warriors. These people that are going to go over to Canaan and dispose of people that are there, they're not warriors. They've been slaves. They've been subjects. But God makes certain promises to them. In this whole section, God's talking about how he's going to be with them in doing this. But in verse 7, he says, but you will chase your enemies, and they will fall before you by the sword. 5 of you will chase 100, and 100 of you will chase 10,000, and your enemies will fall before you by the sword. Whose strength were they going to rely on, or should they have been relying on? God's. I'm convinced, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, I'm convinced that if they went out into battle and they just swung their sword around, they would have won. You understand what I'm saying? As long as they went out and fought, as long as they went out and did it the way God commanded them to do it, they would have won. And they did. He didn't use conventional tactics. When they went to take Jericho, what were their tactics in Jericho? We're going to march. Quiet. 7 times around this thing. Not conventional tactics. But as long as they were with God and doing things the way God commanded them, and as long as they were obedient to God, they won. That's why I'm saying as long as they just went out there and kind of swung the sword around, they were going to win. Yes, ma'am. How do we get out of our headspace and talking with people and sharing the message? That's a very, very good question. It might be a little bit different for everybody. Can I share you kind of some things that have happened to me? There's a couple of things happened to me. One, some lessons I've learned when I was in preaching school. I was timid. I did not like getting in front of people. I was a little more of an introvert. Still am. I can only take so much of you guys at a time. But one of my professors told me, you know, he's kind of timid. He said, Josh, they're not going to eat you. Which means, why are you afraid? They're not going to hurt you. That was helpful for me. There are times when, you know, you're out door knocking and doing that kind of stuff and you're sharing the message and you're frustrated because they're not listening. They're not hearing. My grandmother told me, I was out with my grandmother at the time, and she said, that's their choice. They get to choose. That helped me a lot because I realized that what I'm doing, I don't necessarily have to convince every single person. Like we can use information and we can talk to them and try and give them helpful information to help them make that choice. But in the end, I'm offering a choice. I'm not making them choose. That helps me because I recognize that I'm a messenger. I share information. If you choose it or not, you're not rejecting me, you're rejecting God. And it's not about me anymore. That was where I had to get out of the headspace that it was about what I did, and if I didn't say the right words and the right combination, that they weren't going to be saved or whatever. That's not it. I share the information, and I give people the choice. And so when I talk with people, I'm excited about what I'm talking about. This is a great congregation wherever we are. It's the best congregation ever. That's what you say everywhere you go, all right? And come and see. Come and see. That's always a great way of doing it. But for me, I had to get out of that as well, because sometimes we can feel like, well, do not feel like you're peddling Christianity. Does that make sense? You're not a door-to-door salesman. We get to share the gospel of Christ, and for me, that's what helped. I had to flip that switch for me. That was it for me. But it's different for everybody. But be excited and enthusiastic about what we're doing, and that goes a long way. You had a comment over here?
Yes. I'm a visitor. I just moved into the area, and I'm looking for a church, and I'm here because I saw a video of Pastor Sproul.
Yep.
Really impressed. So I came in late, but it looks like you're sharing a message about how to share a message.
Yes.
So my question is, and I guess it's okay to ask questions?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, I guess my question is the message that you have a general message about Christianity, or is it something more specific having to do with this specific church? And if so, what are those two messages?
All right, excellent. So when we talk with people about the gospel, is it about Christianity at large, or is it about this specific congregation? The answer is yes, in kind of both, and that we are sharing the gospel message about Christ. We are sharing, but we're saying, hey, come and worship here with us. Come be a part of our family here as well. Does that answer your question?
Sort of, yes. I get it. So what would be the most important point to make with someone that's looking for a church? What would you want to tell them that would set this church or this congregation aside from all the other different options that someone might have? Because there are over 200 different denominations.
Yes.
All claiming that there's the best,
Mm-hmm.
the best direction, right? So what would you share with someone like me to encourage them to attend this congregation?
All right, that's a very, very good question. Let me go to an analogy here, and you kind of keyed this off. An analogy I was thinking about the other day. I was walking through the mall, because we don't have those where we are typically, and I started thinking about just Christendom at large, and people trying to choose where they're going to go worship is like walking through a mall. If every storefront is a different denomination, every storefront is a different different message. Every storefront is a different way of presenting. Is a lot like that. And you're trying to choose in the mall where you're going to go. When we're preaching the message, our main focus is to say we're trying to teach the pure, unadulterated message of the Bible. We're trying to teach just what the New Testament has for us to teach. We're not adding anything to it. We're not taking anything away from it. We're trying to teach just what the Bible says. And so what does that look like? Well, it's going to be a healthy place. But when typically people are looking for church homes where they're going to go worship, they're looking on the outside, the facade. They're not going in and reading the store policies typically anymore. Does that make sense? Does that translate? They're not going into congregations to say, hey, what doctrine do you have? What are you teaching here? Typically people are looking on the storefront and saying, well, what does it have to offer me? Because what are we now? We are more of a consumer generation. We are consumers. We're programmed. I'll get to you in a second. We're programmed and we are taught. You're being taught. You're being programmed by that little device you carry around with you, and to be consumers. And so that's part of what the challenge is to say, all right, what are we offering? And what we're offering is just the pure milk of the word, just the pure Christianity, nothing more or less. And we're creating in that a family of believers where people can belong. And so that's what we're striving to offer here. Does that answer your question, kind of what we're looking at?
Sort of, but maybe I could share what it was that I saw that was different about this congregation.
Yeah, that'd be great.
than I've seen in others, and that is drinking alcohol is a sin,
Mm-hmm.
and beyond that. So that really struck me because most, I think, denominations almost celebrate the drinking of alcoholic beverages, and
Yeah.
they introduce it to young people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have become problematic with drinking because of that, I think. So
Yeah.
that was really, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes. So those are, they're within teaching the gospel and teaching what the Bible has to say on things. Those different things like that become highlighted where you see those differences in different places. You had a comment?
Yeah, I had a comment. I drive from far to get to church here, and I passed at least 2 other churches of Christ before I reached here, and I chose this one because of what I'm learning here.
Oh, did you stand up and yell?
Okay, so she's saying she passes other congregations to get here, and that she came here because of what she was able to learn, what she's learning here. Is that correct?
That's correct. So I'm learning something here, and what I learned fits what was read in the Bible.
Yeah.
So you can go to another denomination, and you're going to hear what they want you to hear, or you can read what's in the Bible, and here they're going to duplicate that. They're going to give you exactly what was already in there. They're going to expand on it and show you why it says what it says and where you can find the answer in other places. I would rather have a full explanation than to have half of the story that felt nice somewhere else. Maybe a little music somewhere, fills in there. But this is the whole story, and I think I appreciate that more. And I would rather make a longer drive to hear the truth than to get half the story in a shorter drive.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Well, maybe I can talk to you later.
Yeah. Islam, did you have a comment?
Yeah, back to the question about evangelism and why we should do it. We have to remember that everybody has access to the creation,
Yep.
that everybody's mind is primed with the idea of where I come from, what am I doing here, where am I going. Those things are already programmed into people. So they're primed. They're ready to hear, the message about where they're going to go.
Yes. Yeah, so we have to recognize that people are looking, and they are asking the same kind of questions that we've been asking. We are not so different, you and I, right? So these are things that we all have the common struggles and the common human experience that allow them to be primed, like you're saying, to hear the message. So with the Israelites, God said, I'm going to be with you. When Gideon was introduced to us, I'm sorry, we'll go through this quickly, we're running out of time. But when Gideon was introduced and the angel of the Lord appeared to him, and he said, behold, valiant warrior. And Gideon was looking around. He was already hiding. He was looking around. Who are you talking to? All right, and God's going to use Gideon. In Judges chapter 7, people all came, and there's too many. God whittled it down to how many men? 300, yeah. All right, the original 300, okay? And so God whittled it down to 300 men. Was it about the 300 men? No. God said you had too many because I don't want you to think you did it on your own. I want you to know that I did this. I did this. Unconventional warfare. But their strength was not their own. When we look in, let's look at this real quickly in Psalms. It's kind of a cool passage. You guys are just on your apps, aren't you? You're already there. All right, you have to wait. All right, so Psalm 33, really cool. I encourage you to read this. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. It's kind of cool if you read this. Blessed is the church whose God is the Lord. It's kind of cool to read it that way. The Lord has spoken from heaven. He sees all the sons of men. From his dwelling place he looks out, all the inhabitants of the earth. He fashions the hearts of them all. He understands all their works. The king is not saved by mighty army, a warrior not delivered by great strength. A horse is a false hope, or you can put in there whatever church gimmick is a false hope of victory, nor does it deliver anyone. Behold, the eye of the Lord is on those who fear him, on those who hope for his loving kindness, to deliver their soul from death and keep them alive in famine. Our soul waits for the Lord. He is our help and our shield, period. God is the strength of what we're doing. That's the message that we share with every place we go. Yes, you're a small congregation. Yes, it's not, you don't have all the things you might think you need to have, but the strength is not in you. Keep going. Keep shining. Keep being an example in this community. In Scobie, Montana, or wherever you are, keep being this example. And the New Testament is replete with this idea. The strength will never be our own. The apostles were given a great charge in Matthew 28 to go into all the world. Do you think that was intimidating? They were already down by one. It was 11. Do you think that was intimidating? That was a challenge? Of course. Paul, on several occasions, look over in 2 Timothy. Second Timothy chapter 4. I find these faster when I'm doing this in front of my computer. Paul, was it a challenge? He says, at my first offense, no one supported me, but all deserted me. That's not great. Not a great position to be in. May not be accounted against them. Verse 17, but the Lord. Those are powerful three words. But the Lord stood with me and strengthened me. Are there times where we individually can be in a situation where we don't feel like we're getting support we need, we don't feel like we have the people around us that we need, and I'm all by myself? And we can get into kind of, I guess, I would like to call it Eeyore Christianity. Do you know who Eeyore is? Just, oh, woe is me. Nobody likes me. But the Lord stood with me and strengthened me. Kind of a big deal. Let's skip over to Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. This is not about football or sports or anything like that it typically gets used in. What's the context of Philippians 4:13? Paul says, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. What was he trying to do in the context? It's open book, you can read. What is he saying? Christ is going to help me. But in the context of what? He said, not that I speak from want, but I've learned to be content in whatever circumstance I am. I know how to go along with humble means. I also know how to live in prosperity. And in every circumstance, I've learned the secret of being filled and going hungry, both having abundance and suffering need. I can do all things, Christ who strengthens me. Nevertheless, you have done well to share with me in my affliction. He's talking about in his work as an evangelist, in his work in spreading the gospel, I can do all these things. I can be in all these circumstances. I can be in all these situations because why? Where does the strength come from? Not me. I can do all these things through Him who strengthens me. That's me as an individual. I can do these things. In all the circumstances of life that I can find myself in, I will find strength in Him. I will find strength in Him. What about the church? We don't have a lot of time. Look over in Ephesians chapter 6. Really, verse 10. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of your might. Is that what he says? In the strength of your understanding. Now, are there things we're supposed to do? Yes. Are we supposed to work? Yes. Would the ark build itself? No. Would the enemies be put to flight by themselves? No. We have to go out and do something. We have to work. But we work in the strength of His might. Put on the full armor of God. What do? We serve God with everything we have, with everything we can do. But it is because of His strength we do these things. It is by His grace, it is by His power that we do these things. Put on the full armor of God so that, why? You will be able to stand firm against the schemes of the devil. Why do we work? Why do we strive? Why do we put on the whole armor of God? By His strength, so that we can stand. It is not in us, by ourselves. We work, we strive, we do. Yes, sir. You can't take a breath without what God has done. Is His influence everywhere? Yeah. The body that He's given us, whatever state it's in, whatever you've done to it, it's by the strength of God that we do these things. So what does that mean for me? Well, look over in 1 Peter chapter 4. Well, let's go to Timothy for sake of time. Go back to 2 Timothy. It says, "For this reason I remind you to kindle afresh the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. For God has not given us a spirit of timidity, but of power, love, and discipline. Therefore do not be ashamed of the testimony of our Lord or of me as prisoner, but join with me in the suffering for the gospel according to the power of God." Thank you for that invitation, Paul. I would love to suffer. What is his message to Timothy? Kindle afresh. Maybe we're in a situation right now where we need to kindle afresh the idea, the concept that it's not by my own power that I'm doing things. We get stuck in a mode of thinking, well, I can't, or I've tried and it didn't work, and we get kind of in this defeatist kind of mentality, this negative self-talk, and God is saying and screaming and jumping up and down, saying, I've done everything to make it possible for you to do this. All you need to do is step out and work. They're not going to eat you. We are not in peril of our lives to share the gospel message. Kindle afresh this idea that it is God who is standing with me every time I open my mouth to share His message. We have not been given a spirit of timidity, and that's sometimes where we are, but of power, of love, and discipline, and we do not need to be ashamed. The message we share, God is faithful. God has provided everything for us to share a message that we can say, this is the best message. We do not need to be ashamed. We have a lot of work. We have a lot of work. But God is giving us everything we need to do, everything we need to do that, and He's standing there with us saying, you got this. Let's kindle afresh that concept that we are not standing by ourselves. Thank you very much for your time this morning.